Hello, I think we're live here on Facebook and Instagram. Hey everyone, my name is Ben Hughes and I am the marketing manager for the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. And of course, it is Tuesday. It is 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, so that means just one thing in our world, at least, and that means it is time for story time at home with the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. Thank you, everybody who's joining here. We are live, as I said, here on Facebook and Instagram. So we're very excited for that. Today we are doing a Storytime edition number 10. If you didn't know, we've done 10 of these, or this will be the 10th one, and we have an entire playlist of them that is available on YouTube if you do want to find that. We've posted that recently on our Twitter. We'll be posting that on our email as well. So we love doing our Storytime at home. It's a great way for us to interact with you during this lockdown period. If you do want to find out more information about everything that we're doing, you can go to our website, of course, FayettevilleWoodpeckers.com. Follow us on social media elsewhere. If you've got us on Facebook or Instagram, follow us on the other platforms. Make sure that you're fully informed. So we are very excited to have you here this afternoon. We also want to give you a little bit of an update because there's something very cool that just happened. We just got word yesterday from minor league baseball themselves. We were one of 100 teams that participated across the country in a fundraiser for Feeding America. And that is an organization that has food banks nationally in local chapters all across the nation. So our local chapter is Hunger Can't Wait. And during the month of May, for all of our fundraising, we actually raised more than $2,700. We raised $2,790 for Feeding America, which is incredible in the first, right? The second great part about that is that that money equals second place out of all of minor league baseball. So our fans were able to bring in more money than almost every other team, which is just incredible as well. And then the last part about that is that we are now, with all of that money, we are matching by giving, for every $10, we're giving a local hero a ticket to a baseball game. So we're really excited about all of that stuff. It's very, very cool things that are going on. We've got a lot more coming down the line, but today, the main goal is story time at home, and we're very excited for this because this is actually my first Curious George book. I've never had a Curious George book before. I was never one of those kids, but this is a great introductory book. So Curious George obviously is a monkey. He's fantastically curious and troublesome monkey at times. But this is Curious George at the baseball game, and I think it is a great story for any kid who loves baseball, and it actually is a really, really good read. So we will get into it today. That's our book, Curious George at the baseball game. I'm trying to show you all. One of these phones is Facebook, one of these phones is Instagram, so I'm trying to make sure I can get it for both of you. Alrighty. So, this is George. That's George. Curious George right there. He was going to Mudville Field. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and the man with the yellow hat were going to the ballpark to watch a baseball game. George couldn't wait to see what it would be like. Seems like a familiar sight, right? Standing in line to get into the stadium. At the baseball stadium, the man with the yellow hat introduced George to his friend, the coach of the Mudville Miners. We'll call them the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. How about that? He had an arrangement for George to watch the game from the dugout. Could you imagine being in the dugout watching the game? Oh my goodness. He had an arrangement for George to watch the game from the dugout. What a treat. George got to see the Woodpeckers up close. He got a Woodpecker's cap to wear. Then he sat on the bench with the players. He felt just like part of the team. I think you would feel like part of the team if you were hanging out in our dugouts. Our stadium is small enough that it's pretty intimate no matter where you are. They cheered on the Woodpeckers' home run, and George cheered too. The players groaned at a Woodpecker strikeout. George groaned too. I would groan. Groan with me. Strikeouts. Then George noticed one of the Miners' coaches. Oh, sorry, my Instagram just caught out. I apologize, Instagram. We're back on. We're good. Then George noticed one of the Woodpeckers' coaches making funny motions with his hands. He touched his cap, he pinched his nose, he dusted off his shoulder. George thought. Maybe this was another way to cheer for the team. So George made some hand motions too. He tugged at his ear. He rubbed his tummy. He scratched on his chin. Just then, a Woodpeckers player got tagged out at second base. The player pointed at George. "That monkey," he said. "He distracted me with his funny signs." Curious George, always getting in trouble. Oops, the coach had been giving directions to the base runner. George's hand signals had taken his mind off of the play. Poor George. He had only been trying to take part with the team. Instead, the Woodpeckers lost a chance to score. I don't think anyone would hold it against George, but probably shouldn't have a monkey in the baseball park in the first place. I don't know. George watched the rest of the game from a stadium seat, which was probably the best idea. Or at least he tried to watch the game. There was so much going on around him. There was food for sale. There were shouting fans. There was a woman holding a big camera. Have you ever been at our ballpark and seen someone running around with a big camera? You may have seen me do it. I've done it a few times. Those are real things. Shouting fans, food for sale, and a big old camera. The woman pointed her camera at some fans, and look, those fans waved out from the huge screen on the ballpark scoreboard. We have one of those. It's pretty big. George had never been on TV before. He was very curious. What would it be like to see himself on the big screen? He soon learned the answer. It was exciting. There he is. I think it's funny. He's down here, so in the big screen photo, he's just two little hands. Two tiny little hands. George likes seeing himself on the screen. I think we all do. It's fun to go to a Woodpeckers game and see yourself up on the big screen during one of the games, you know, or the smile cam especially. "Hey you!" shouted that camera woman. "Cut that out." Uh-oh, George had gotten a little carried away. He ran off with the angry camera woman hot on his heels. I'd be running too. Don't want to get those camera people mad. In the busy stadium breezeway, we call it a concourse. In the busy stadium concourse, George hid behind a popcorn cart. He waited for the camera woman to pass by. Just then, George heard a noise behind him. It was a quiet little noise, like a sigh or a sniff. What could have made that noise? George wondered. George turned. There, behind the cart, was a little boy crying. George wanted to help. He crept out from his hiding place and over to the little boy. See him? Hanging out. He's not too happy. Aha! There you are, shouted the camera woman, spotting George, and then the camera woman also noticed the teary boy. She seemed to forget that she was mad at George. "I'm lost," the little boy said. "I can't find my dad." If only there were a way to let the boy's dad know where he was. But there was a way. What do you think they're going to do? There was a way. The camera woman aimed her lens at the little boy, and there he was on the big screen for everyone to see, including his dad. Is this your monkey or your child? I don't know if we've ever put that on our big screen, saying, "Is this your monkey?" Within minutes, the boy and his father were together again, and the man with the yellow hat had come to find George. "I can't thank you enough," said the boy's father to the camera woman. The camera woman shrugged. "Don't thank me," she said, patting George on the back. "It was this little fellow who found your son." George getting all the credit. And with that, George was the star of the day. I love that book. I absolutely love that book because it talks about real things that happen at our stadium. It talks about real stuff that you get to see when you come to Sager Stadium and see a Fayetteville Woodpeckers game. So eventually we will get back to that, and we will be back in person doing all of those fun things that Curious George was doing together. But until then, you of course need to stay safe and stay home. We are continuing to stay in the pattern of holding until we find something else that we can do. So we are looking forward to eventually bringing you back to the ballpark. But until then, stay home, read a few books, and we hope you enjoyed this. If you do want to find us on Facebook, it is facebook.com/FayettevilleWoodpeckers. Same on Instagram, it's Fayetteville Woodpeckers. And on Twitter, we are Woodpeckers NC. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next Saturday for another story time at home with the Woodpeckers. Have a great rest of your afternoon, everybody.